Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Nifty Ninty, the podcast where we break down everything Nintendo every week. This past week has been a doozy. We had some pretty big releases as well as a few surprises and some massive Pokemon news. There is a lot to be excited for this week, so why don't we just get right into it. We're going to start with the news. Now, obviously, the big news this week is Pokemon. Not only do we get 2 new games for the Switch, we also had a surprise at others. However, we are going to get into that a little bit later. First, we are going to start with a little something out of Canada. In fact, it would appear that Walmart Canada is leakier than a sieve. The retailer from my home country has again leaked images of an unreleased game. In this case, it was a new Sonic racing game. This next piece is a little less news, a little more speculation, as Goichi Suda, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, announces Killer 7 is coming to the PC. The reason I put this in here is because I'm secretly hoping that at E3 we will have a Killer 7 remake announced for Switch. Fingers crossed. This next piece comes from Blizzard. They have stated that you should not expect Overwatch to come to the Switch. The popular online shooter apparently is just too much for the Switch to handle. However, if Resident Evil 7 can go cloud-based, maybe Overwatch can as well. We can still keep our fingers crossed. Another piece of disappointing news, the Mario & Rabbids creators at Ubisoft have stated why there was no online multiplayer for Mario & Rabbids. It is, again, a technical issue, and they preferred to go with couch co-op instead. I prefer couch co-op because I love playing games with my friends in the same room. This week marks the 32nd anniversary of Dragon Quest. While no longer an exclusive Nintendo franchise, it did get its start on the Famicom way back in the day. In those times, it was known as Dragon Quest in the East and Dragon Warrior in the West. Dragon Quest was an immersive fantasy RPG and has grown to be one of the most successful franchises ever. It has graced almost every single console to ever exist, and this week, it turns 32, so happy birthday, Dragon Quest. Coming fast on the heels of the Mega Man Legacy Collection, we finally have a release date for Mega Man 11. Mega Man 11 will be coming out on October 2nd. Mega Man 11 features very similar gameplay to the NES-style Mega Man games. However, it has an updated graphic style, and the Switch version comes with a bonus amiibo if you pre-order at certain retailers. This week, Nintendo of Japan's Twitter account posted a tweet about looking for somebody to fill a job. That role sees someone who is in charge of what looks like patents or perhaps IP. Now this is suspect because this has come on the heels of Nintendo filing trademark and patent updates for old N64 type of things. Maybe we will see an N64 Mini. Again, E3 is right around the corner, so it's very possible that something will be announced there. It was a big week for the folks from Nicholas Games, as IGN and Nicholas Games have debuted a new puzzle fighter type of game called Crystal Crisis. IGN did get the exclusive reveal on their NVC podcast this week, but we get to benefit from the trailer. This is a puzzle fighter game, just like most of them. However, it does feature a whole bunch of Nicholas characters. Shovel Knight was not in the trailers. Perhaps he is an unlockable character, one can hope. This does take a little bit of a twist on the familiar puzzle fighter formula, whereas you aren't just color matching blocks, like in Puyo Puyo or Tetris. In this, you are not only color matching blocks, but you have to wait for things called shatter crystals to come down that are the same color as these massive blocks, and that is how you attack your opponent. There is local and online multiplayer, and we will find out more about this further down the road. It is scheduled to come out this fall. Alright, now moving on, we have the juiciest piece of news that happened this past week, and that is Pokemon. Pokemon. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I bet you guys are too. Now this story all starts a little earlier in the week when some savvy YouTube users noticed some private Pokemon videos showing up on various Nintendo channels. Those videos turned out to be trailers for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. We also got a surprise announcement for a game called Pokemon Quest, which was also available to download that very day. It's free to play and definitely worth checking out. I actually have played it. Another piece of news from Game Freak was that a actual core RPG Pokemon game is coming to Switch in 2019. Let's dive a little bit deeper into all this Pokemon news. Why don't we start with Pokemon Quest, the game that was just released and is free to start. In Pokemon Quest, you take control directly of the Pokemon themselves, kind of like the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series. However, this time the setting is an island called Tumblecube Island, and the Pokemon aren't exactly Pokemon, they are called Pokecell, Poke Pixel. I don't know how to pronounce that per se. However, it kind of looks like Minecraft. Your Pokemon don't look like they have in the other games. They're in cube form. In fact, the whole aesthetic of the game is very cube based. I should note that this game was also announced for mobile, and that kind of makes sense because the game does feel very much like a mobile game. For the Switch, you exclusively use the touchscreen to control. It's full of microtransactions and upsells. That's at least what I've seen through my current playthrough. I haven't played a lot of it yet. I do plan on playing some more. Game Freak calls this a rambunctious expedition RPG, which is actually quite true because you go on what is called an expedition. That's the main point of the game. And when you go on these expeditions, you get food and items and stuff that you can use to upgrade your Pokemon or Pokecell, whatever. I can't pronounce it. They're Pokemon in my mind. You get attack items and health items that increase their HP and their attack points. You also get ingredients to make food with, and you use this food to attract new Pokemon to your base camp, and that is how you meet new members to put in your party. As you go from expedition to expedition, your Pokemon level up, they get stronger, you get more items, you can craft more. It's still a RPG, but the point is to go out on these expeditions. You end up on this island, you don't really know what's going on, you need to explore. You have this drone that's crashed and it doesn't really know how to figure itself out, so you enlist the help of Pokemon. Gameplay wise, you don't really control the Pokemon per se, they kind of automatically walk towards a Pokemon or a group of Pokemon that are in the area, and then you have an option to tap icons on the bottom that are attacks to attack these Pokemon. I know that made absolutely no sense, but for instance, I chose Charmander as my starter, and he has Slash and Fire Spin, and you choose one of those in which to attack other Pokemon with. Some are close range attacks, some are ranged attacks. The game itself is fairly linear. It's kind of along the lines of a Super Mario World or like New Super Mario Brothers type overworld, where you just go from spot to spot, and within those worlds are quests and expeditions that you need to complete, and you get rewards that you can use to upgrade your Pokemon, level up your Pokemon, buy items with, craft food with, and so on. There is plenty to keep you coming back for more. It does seem like it might be a little repetitive, which is why I think it would be great for mobile, because it's something you can kind of pick up on a bus or during your commute, tap away for a bit, put it away, and pick it up again later. Alright, the news. The big news this week was Nintendo and Game Freak have announced Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. This announcement pretty much confirms everything that was leaked and rumored before, however we now have it official. While this isn't a core Pokemon RPG, it does take elements from the core games and mixes them with the best elements of Pokemon Go. In typical Pokemon fashion, we get two versions of this game, which takes us all the way back to the Kanto region. This game is played using just one Joy-Con controller, and it also has a very neat Pokeball peripheral that is called the Pokeball Plus. The Joy-Con and the Pokeball Plus both operate in the same fashion. You you don't actually, but you make a throwing motion with the Joy-Con or the Pokeball, and you use that to catch the Pokemon. Similar to the way Pokemon Go works, there is a catch bonus depending on if you get neat, or if you get a great, or you get an excellent. That still exists. Speaking of that neat little Pokeball, what you can do is actually you can store a Pokemon in that game. I'm not sure if it is just either Eevee or Pikachu that you can store, or if you can store any Pokemon in that game into that ball, but you can actually store a Pokemon in that ball and take it with you on the go. When you touch the ball or pet the ball, it makes little noises and it has some fun. What I'm curious about is if you can put Pokemon in there, do you get bonuses for taking it for a walk? For instance, if I were to take a Pikachu, would I get perhaps candy inside of Pokemon Go for my Pikachu if I were to walk with it? In Pokemon Go, I happen to walk with a Magikarp. Would I get Magikarp candy if I was able to put Magikarp inside that ball? As Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee is played with one Joy-Con, what do you do with the other Joy-Con? Well, that is used for multiplayer. What you can do is player number 2 can actually use the second Joy-Con and simply shake it, and bam, they're right in the game. I don't know if that is a stock character they use or what, or if they can somehow bring their character over from their game into your game. I guess these are details we'll find out later, perhaps at E3, but the fact is you can just pick up and go, shake it, and have multiplayer Pokemon. The game does take place in the Kanto region and is based primarily on Pokemon Yellow. That is why you have a Pokemon companion in the form of Pikachu or Eevee. As it is set back in the Kanto region, all original 151 Pokemon are available to catch in this game. Also, in this game, finding Pokemon isn't just a random encounter. It's kind of like in Pokemon Go, where they're on the screen and you have to go to them in order to catch them. Speaking of Pokemon Go, there is cross-play functionality between Let's Go and Pokemon Go. That's going to be a mouthful. Using the Bluetooth inside the Nintendo Switch, you are able to communicate with your Pokemon Go on your mobile phone and transfer Pokemon back and forth. Now, when you transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Go to the Switch, I'm not sure if that makes them playable or not. In the trailer, it just seems that they go to what's called a Pokemon Park or Pokemon Garden, and are just there to kind of hang out. I'm hoping that you are able to add them to your party through Pokemon Go. Also, as it does take place back in Kanto, you can only transfer the original 151 Pokemon from Pokemon Go to your Switch. I'm also curious if you can go from Switch to Pokemon Go. Do you happen to know? Have you heard? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. The best part about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee is we do not have to wait all that long. It is coming this November the 16th. Also, as noted by Game Freak, this is not a core Pokemon RPG. That is coming to Switch later next year. Perhaps we'll get a sneak peek at E3. I don't know about you guys, but I'm still incredibly excited about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I'm not sure which version I'm going to get. I'm kind of leaning towards the Eevee version and then maybe picking up Pokemon Yellow for my 3DS instead of the Pikachu Let's Go version. I think that would be a more complete experience for me. What are you guys thinking? Are you going to get Pikachu? Are you going to get Eevee? I don't know. Pikachu is probably one of my favorite Pokemon, but I think I'm still going to go with Eevee. Let me know in the comments below what you're thinking, which ones you want to get. Alright, well that's it for the news. It is a fairly Pokemon-centric week, and that is to no surprise. We did know that there was some Pokemon news coming. We had a feeling it was going to be Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. However, the addition of Pokemon Quest was a nice surprise, and the fact that Game Freak has said a core RPG is coming next year is also very welcome news indeed. Fingers crossed for more information at E3. Now, let's get on to this week's new releases. As is usual every week, we get a literal boatload of Nindie titles. Can't really complain. Super excited about Nindies for the most part. However, there is a lot of them. You never really know which ones are good. Regardless, these are the ones coming out this week. We have another Neo Geo title in the form of Ninja Combat. After that, we have a puzzle game called Defoliation, and then Dragon Lapis. Another Chinese game winner from the VGAs in Icy. We have an arcade classic, Johnny Turbo's Arcade, Caveman Ninja. I'm not really sure how Ninja and Caveman go hand in hand. However, maybe one of you will pick it up and let me know. After that, we have Just Shapes and Beats. And then another game called Lost Sea, which sounds pretty cool. We have another title called Pirate Pop Plus. And then Quad Fighter K, Smoke and Sacrifice. We also have a title called West of Loathing. This one I think I might pick up. It does look kind of cool. It is basically a hand-drawn stickman art style. However, it looks pretty depressing, which I don't know why, but for whatever reason that really appeals to me. I think West of Loathing because it also takes place in a Wild West setting. We also get a pinball game in the form of World Soccer Pinball and a lone Wii U release called Masked Forces. Of course, the big release this week is the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition. The Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition comes packed with 12 games, worth every penny in my opinion. Not only does it include the original Street Fighter, but it also includes almost every single arcade version up until Street Fighter 4. The game features arcade-perfect gameplay, and a mode that is exclusive to the Switch version is the Arcade Competition mode, which was at one time only exclusive to a few arcade cabinets, but now, because the Switch is mobile, you can do this on the Switch. There's also a bunch of bonus content that includes sprite art as well as music archives and concept art. Personally, Street Fighter was never really my jam. I've always been terrible at it. However, my friends and I did used to go to the arcade and pump a bunch of quarters into it. I was instead a much larger fan of Mortal Kombat as opposed to Street Fighter. However, this game does look very exciting, and I wouldn't mind picking it up just to play the original Street Fighter or perhaps Street Fighter Third Strike over again. Of the 12 games that come packed in this game, which one are you most excited for? Let me know in the comments below. Now, this may not be the biggest release this week because that would be Street Fighter. However, this is the one I personally am the most excited about, and I will most definitely be picking up off the Nintendo eShop, and that is also from Nicholas and Treasure Games, Ikaruga. Ikaruga is a vertical scrolling bullet hell game, much in the same vein as Raiden or any of those arcade shmups you played as a kid, or perhaps at the local barcade you frequent. This does take the familiar bullet hell game to a new dynamic though, as it does add puzzle elements. The colors blue and red are very important, and you are able to switch between them in order to avoid being shot by certain types of weapons. So not only is it difficult, but it is incredibly fun, and it makes you think, and it's available right now. I can't wait. This game was originally released in the Japanese arcades close to the turn of the century. Shortly after that, it made the switch to Dreamcast. It came over here in the West on the GameCube, and that's where I first played it, and I first fell in love with it. Perhaps you were lucky enough to play it on the Japanese arcade games, or you imported it for your Dreamcast. Where did you first play Ikaruga? Let me know. I'm curious. Put it in the comments below. It's at this point in time where I would usually be fielding some questions. However, I haven't received any because currently I'm still a little too new. Also, it's at this part of the show where we could potentially be doing game reviews. If you want me to do some game reviews, please let me know either on Twitter or in the comments below, and I will look to do those reviews for you. Looking towards next week, it is going to be probably a very short turnaround because I would like to get another episode out before E3 happens. The E3 press conferences start on the Saturday. Thank you, Microsoft. So I'm going to try and get this up on Friday night, my time. Also, in my area next week, there is a games festival that, if I am fortunate enough to not be working, I will be in attendance for, and if they have decent Wi-Fi, perhaps I'll do some live streaming, so you can look forward to that on my YouTube channel. I'll make sure I tweet about it if I am able to attend. Also, they have a Smash Bros. Tournament that, you know what, I think it'd be fun if I entered. Anyways, that's all next week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. Also, follow me on Twitter. It's probably the best way to get a hold of me directly. And as always, I do have a Patreon. My Patreon subscribers do get exclusive audio access. So if you want to hear these podcasts first, please do sign up for my Patreon. Alright, that's it for me this week. And as always, stay nifty.